Ah!
Also, it is completely unrelated to the game's, fidelity as a whole.
Yeah.
What is it? In my opinion, it is a crime that Galen Merrick doesn't come back as like an actual canon character in the Disney, being like, we're recanonizing everything.
Well, Disney are kind of about that kind of thing. They're just like,
yeah,
hey,
especially since it was like the edgier Shadow the Hedgehog of games.
Yeah, it kind of was. It was like, hey, this inner peace shit? Fuck that. Let's just blow everything up. Yeah!
But there's like a version that was on the PSP and the Wii.
Yeah.
Those are the same, that's the same essential game. And then there's the PS3 version and the Xbox 360 version.
Yes.
And it didn't it didn't look like the same game. It didn't play like the same game. There were entire plot points that didn't exist across the actual, like, between the games.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
okay.
all those people died. Oh dear. Oh well, never mind.
George, how many of those, I can't remember the brand that they used to have, it was like the game guide books.
Oh!
You ever own a bunch of those?
No, but I know what you're talking about.
I was a fool. In my days before realizing, oh wait, I live in, it's the 2010s,
Yeah.
and I have the internet, and I can just look all this up. Nope, I paid, $20, $30 at a Scholastic's book fair for, what is essentially a guide I could get on, GameSpot or whatever.
Well, to be fair,
free.
it's actually harder to get that kind of shit now because of all the AI-generated garbage articles clogging the internet.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we may actually be entering the period of history where actually they might come back purely because it's actually just got all the information in it, and there's no fucking around. I do have some guides, not many. I got one back... I mean, I don't think the first one I'm talking about is branded by, like, that company that does all of them. Because it was from the British publisher that did the Nintendo magazines in the UK. And they did one for Pokemon Red and Blue when that came out. And I got that. And damn did that help me out. Because I was a stupid child, and also the actual mechanics of Pokemon in the Red and Blue era are fairly opaque and arcane. Like, you can't tell what the hell it even is. Plus, that several of them are just programmed badly, so they don't work the way they're supposed to.
Yeah. I know one of the things that helped me out with a lot of stuff is I think the 3 that I had was I had the Lego Batman and Robin. I had, what was the other one? The Force Unleashed, which is why I even brought it up in the first place.
Yeah.
And then later on, my sibling got, after I was like, why did you buy this? Because it's all on the internet anyway, you wasted $30. The Doom 2016 game guide.
But,
Yeah, it exists.
Why?
Because I guess there are some people... It's like learning that... like when, Eminem figured out that internet porn exists, and he's like, I've been buying, like, magazines this whole time. It's like, you've been what?
Damn.
Like, that's an actual thing, and I don't know why I know that.
To be fair, okay, I used to work in a, this should not surprise you in any way. I used to work in a retail store in a train station. And for a notable, mainly British but does do some international stores company that is a garbage company, and I hate them. And they had a top shelf of pornography sold there. You know, just get your porn before you get on the train.
You know, your Hustlers, your Playboy, all that. Just
so you can, have a quick one while you're going to work or something. I don't know. But I found it unfathomable as well. But there was a kind of very specific demographic of people who bought from that shelf, and they were all like men in their 50s with very ruddy complexions, who referred to women as love.
Oh, jeez, yeah, I know the exact kind of person, but like, oh god, yeah.
Yeah, it's, woo! And now my first manager there was actually a really nice person. They took a big punt on hiring me in the first place, and I was quite grateful to them for that. And they always kind of treated me fairly well, which turned out to be a bit of an anomaly.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got a bit of hassle from these sorts of people, given that they were a 20-somethings, fairly attractive woman. And, you know, the manager, which they obviously do not believe, because that's these sorts of people.
Because they simply cannot fathom that a lady's in charge.
Yeah. And there are, like, older men working there who are not in charge. They don't get that idea. They can't get it into their little tiny brain that is the case. And as such, make sort of, like, disparaging comments toward them.
Which is funny until, you know, they're just like, wow, you have to leave now.
Yeah, go away. To be fair, she did consider herself quite threatened by these things, and was usually quite great. And okay, this is gonna sound a bit. When I was there, and I'd see this shit happen, I generally stepped in. And like, yeah, she absolutely could take care of herself. But she did say that she was quite grateful for that sort of thing, because then I can just not, she just doesn't have to deal with it then.
Yeah.
And I can just go up to them in all my 6'2" hugeness and just go,
I forget how tall you are.
Just get out. Oh yeah, I'm tall. And broad. Like, if you didn't know who I was, you wouldn't want to see me in a dark alley, because you'd imagine I'd be a lot worse than I am. I kind of
think you're gonna get mugged, but turns out you're just gonna info dump.
Yeah, I'm just gonna talk about, like, I'm just gonna talk about this, like, Lego pirate ship I had in the 90s to you in an alleyway. Yeah, but basically every other manager I had working for that company were garbage or criminals or garbage criminals.
Jeez.
Or there wasn't one.
Oh, that's real good when you just have to act like there's someone in charge, and yet there isn't.
Yeah, and like we have to do all the like banking things and stuff, despite there being no one with the authority to do that.
Yeah,
I had to wear the manager hat fairly often in those periods.
Yeah, I feel like that might be a bit of a legal problem.
It is, but I had to do it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like business goes under if I don't. But
yeah, I need to have a job at the end of the day. Well, I don't. I get. Well, to be fair, there was a point where I went, no, I don't, and I quit. And I oh well, now I've been out of work for like 5 years, but I still feel better. Effie has leveled. I skipped through, so I don't know what quest they completed, but they completed one.
Oh, congratulations, you get medal.
You get a medal, which increases your stats permanently. And apparently we have tons of them. And I'm like, why don't we just give them away? Just to make all our civilians, like, super powerful, and they could just, like, suplex, Behemoth or something. This is Final Fantasy. They could probably, with all those medals, they could walk up to someone or other and just go, well, fuck you, and then kick them straight in the junk until they explode. But, apparently no, I only give them when they complete a quest. Let's make them tough as old boots. Here you go, plus 6 to your toughness.
What's your superpower? Nothing can hurt me.
That's a good one.
Can you do anything? No. I just can't die.
Tons of ways to get around that sort of power.
Wait, for her to get around it, or for other people to get around it?
There are lots of ways to get around someone who's completely, who just doesn't die. Tons of ways of dealing with people like that.
I'm just thinking of the clip from, I forget what movie it was, but just like John Wayne grabbing a child and throwing them in the river.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And yet, not even close to the worst thing John Wayne has ever done.
Yeah, well... yeah, he did some pretty bad things.
I think the scene went something like, the kid was like, but I can't swim! And he's like, how old are you? Like 7? And he picks him up and throws him, just...
Christ. Good grief. Okay, so I'm gonna... I know I've mentioned this stuff on stream before, but I'm gonna mention the history of this game a little. Because it's an odd one. So, this is a direct sequel to Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, which was on the GameCube.
Okay.
Do you know anything about that game?
I know nothing about Final Fantasy at all.
Oh, well, this is a weird offshoot series that's a personal favourite of mine, but I'll get on to... So, Crystal Chronicles was designed to be a co-op multiplayer experience, and given that it was on the GameCube, it was couch co-op. But they did something quite interesting, which also made it quite difficult to actually get a group together for it. This is completely irrelevant to talking about this game. I just find Crystal Chronicles fascinating as a design. They made it so each player playing the game does not in fact need a GameCube controller. What you need instead is a GameCube to Game Boy Advance link cable and your own Game Boy Advance for each player.
So a Game Boy would be the controller?
Yes. You'd hook the Game Boy up to the GameCube into the controller port as your controller. So you'd have your own little screen for your own stuff. And it wouldn't clog up the main screen on the television. Which, good idea. Unfortunately, that meant that, getting the resources together and the people who have everything you need to play it and get them all into a room was not the easiest. But it just played so well when you did. Okay, so the story conceit of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles was you've got a world that is basically full of poison gas.
Oh. At
all times. Monsters are unaffected by the poison gas. Moogles are also unaffected by the poison gas, because they technically count as monsters.
What's the Moogle?
Let's see if I can find one of them. Oh no, it's gonna make me go to bed.
Rabbit things.
The little... Oh, where are they? Fuck, I have to go to bed. The little white-winged cat furry things. They're in like tons of Final Fantasies. But for some reason in Crystal Chronicles, they're really round. Like a Gen 1 Pikachu. And I love them, but people less familiar with the series find them a little weird. Oh, Duracelsus has killed Wolf at the Altalencia Hills. The boss is killed, the boss being a wolf. Let's make them more agile so they can dodge attacks, because they are a squishy wizard. Have that.
Ah, yes, Squishomancy.
Alright. I'm gonna get this description out if it kills me. Right. So, there were four major species who are not monsters. And you've got the Clavats, who are basically just your everymen. They're just people. They're just human people. You've got the Selkies, who are also kind of human people, but they're just a different tack on the same thing. And then you've got the more interesting ones, the Lilties, tiny little plant people who love to fight you, and are in heavy armor all the time. They have a very martial culture. And they have weird, cute little baby faces. And you've got the Ukes, who are weird gas magic things in suits of armor. With, like, furry arms and shit. They're great. Love them.
They're... How is gas sentient?
They're magic.
Okay, fair enough.
They are. They literally are. Literally magic. But anyway, so all of these people have basically had to kind of band together in small fortified villages surrounding these crystals. And the crystals are fueled by dew from these weird magic trees that people don't really know anything about. But they've, through just doing it, have worked out that they can keep your big town's JO crystal charged for a good long while, and it keeps the poison out. If it runs out, the gas comes in and everyone will fucking die.
Is that something that can happen and it causes like a game over?
You can in fact fail to get any dew and everyone will die.
Terrifying.
But the game is, you're all people selected from the village to go out in a big caravan with a little crystal just to keep the local area around you pure so you could breathe. And go to these places where the trees are, get the dew, come back. And keep it going. And that game loop is really fucking good, as it turns out.
Huh.
And along the way, they sprinkle lore about what's actually going on, lots of various side quests with other NPCs and other caravans for other towns that you meet. Anyway, by the end of the game, you do find the cause of the poison miasma, and destroy it. And it's a fucking alien from space.
Oh.
You kill the shit out of it. There's other stuff that happens afterwards as well, to do with explaining what the hell the dew is, and a weird sub-quest with people losing their memories all the time, because the game has a sort of theme of recording everything that happens to you in this journal.
Ah.
Which actually ends up being important near the end. But yeah, irrelevant to this. So by the end of the game, the miasma's gone. This game picks up after that. So there's all this land that people have had to abandon in the past because everything was covered in poison. And, like, this place was abandoned because, well, there's a big crystal, but I guess that the caravan went wrong and they didn't come back, and so they had to leave to avoid poison death. But they're here now, and we're rebuilding. But the monster populations, who previously had free reign, are chafing against this, obviously. Although they, you know, on the whole seem to just want us dead anyway. But, this is a sort of... This was our land, but then we had to leave due to horrible poison. The monsters came, now the poison's gone, and we've come back. And there's... This is kind of like massive expansion and border dispute stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm the king of this place. I'm a little kid. And I have gained the power to create buildings with my mind.
Oh. They just popped in one day.
I can just go, hey, we need like a bakery. This is what a bakery is like. I look at the spot and then bakery! And I'm rebuilding...
Do you scream bakery when you do it?
No. I wish I did.
I like that. Just your thum creates buildings.
There's absolutely no voice acting in this game. So
cheaper for translating.
Though there is a reason for this. This game is tiny. It's really, like, in terms of file size, it's really small. It's like 35 meg or so?
Oh my god, that is tiny, even for a GameCube game.
Except this wasn't on the GameCube. This was on the Wii.
Right.
And this was actually a WiiWare title. This was a WiiWare title. You bought it on the Wii shop. It was download only. And it was never released anywhere else. Ever. And the Wii shop no longer exists, so you can't buy this game anymore. Which is great.
Yeah, it's like... It's up to, like, archivists to make sure that this isn't lost media, which is a weird thing to be worried about.
Yeah, well, that's kind of something we've always had to worry about with games, because game preservation isn't something that's done... Like, it's always been the emulation side of things that have actually got any form of game archivism going on.
Yeah.
Game archival, you know, just isn't being generally done by the academic community. Oh, and let me tell you what really set it back.
Uh-oh.
Fucking Gamergate.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
That did bad things for game archival.
What was the main reason for it? Like, I kind of understand, but also I kind of don't.
Basically,
because...
they made that... The whole thing was they were making such shits of themselves that anybody who was, like, in academia actually trying to do things with games as an art form, including in game archival, were generally just being ignored. Because you know, everyone publicly in games is just being a bit of a weird man-child.
Yeah.
Ah, there's a Moogle. Hello, Moogle. There's Mogmoon.
Yeah, they're just a little guy.
It's just a little guy. And they're in basically every Final Fantasy, somewhere. Anyway, so this game, as said, was like post that area. It was only on WiiWare, you can't get it anywhere else. And they decided, like, for the sequel to Crystal Chronicles, a co-op RPG adventure, they made a city builder
Yeah.
as a download title.
I feel like it's already kind of weird because it's a city builder, but it's on a adventure type game scale. Like, it's just everything is so big compared to you.
Yeah, we are a person in the city that we are building. And we, like, can talk to the individual people. And, their morale affects the kingdom, and we can hire people off to go and do adventures and get resources, and then we, you know, that's... I did describe this, previously as the bit of RPGs that you don't see and you don't do.
While you're out slaying dragons and getting, like, 23, like, logs and 50 dragon scales, this is what is being done to, like, get you your stuff. This is what the blacksmith is doing when the carpenter is doing.
Yeah, this is, like, I, as this king, am directly funding the research into, like, better equipment and supplies. I'm creating the businesses and expanding the housing and making the place bigger. And you know, commissioning the adventurers to go out on quests in the first place. And literally paying them a regular wage, which you don't normally see. Actually, when do you see that in RPGs?
Yeah, that's actually... now that I think about it. Yeah.
Like, they're being paid regardless. I'm paying them anyway. They're not just taking loot from the adventures, they're actually paying that back into the kingdom. But I just pay them. Isn't job security nice?
Yeah.
Like, they're not working on commission. I'm just paying them a wage.
Next, can we make a universal basic income?
Oh, that would be great. I'd love to do that. If I could press that button, I'd press that button.
Yeah!
But, you know... What is it I need them to do? Alright, this is a place they could go. Go there. That's level 19, that's level 17. What's here? House plus, so I could get more houses. Yeah, so each of these dungeons and, like, places around the kingdom, the castle is here in the center. There is stuff I can get them to do. Oh, we could declare a holiday. Nah, I don't need to right now. And we've been sort of expanding out, getting resources and pushing, well, essentially displacing the local monster population.
Yeah.
Like, more than we really should be. And there's a storyline about how, like, the Demon Lord, and make that a cliche, although, no, it's the Dark Lord, was using this place as a sort of shelter for monsters against, it says, they keep saying humans in this game, even though there are no humans. I think they're just using that as a shorthand for the non-monstrous races.
It's like when they refer to, you know, how all the characters, like, oh, no, they're Hyrulean or whatever in Zelda.
Yeah, in Zelda, they are Hylians. Yeah.
Hylians, yeah, that's what it is.
And they are not humans. There are no humans. There aren't any humans. But they never say humans.
Are they supposed to be like an analog to just elves?
Hylians are kind of elf-like, but there's no humans. like, at all. They're all pointy-eared humanoids. Like, the closest things you've got to, like, humans in the Zelda universe is the Gerudo. Oh, someone's having a talk in the gardens. What are you... Miranda! One of my black mages. Are you you want something? Oh, Your Majesty, I'm sorry. Fighting's been so hard, I feel like just giving up. Have a rest. Go to bed. Yes, sire. I'll spend the remainder of the day resting for future service. I'll be back tomorrow with strength renewed, ready to fight again. Neat. I'll just send everybody. I can't be bothered. Like, you are capable of, like, individually picking adventurers. But everybody's reasonable enough level that I don't really care. I've also currently upgraded the castle as much as my morale boost can currently do, so I don't have anything to do with that. Oh! Yes, I got antidote materials to upgrade antidotes. I'm off to the shop to fund research. With government money.
Ooh.
Fund the sciences!
And also, generally speaking, as long as you have multiple oversight committees that do not have conflicts of interest, it's almost like having, publicly funded sciences means more science gets done.
Yeah! Like, well, at the moment, the committee is me. I wander around and go, money! To the sciences. Like, the sciences go, I'd like some money, please. And I go, money! At them. And then they have it. And then they do it.
Money sprays at your hands.
Just spray money directly at their face from my hands. Now that I think about it, it was entirely possible to do something like that in old D&D 3rd edition. It's possible to do it at level 1, even, I think.
Okay, I'm trying to think, it's like... And it be like... the actual pieces of, electrum or silver? Or would it be like transmuting like an ore or an ingot into its equivalent in, like, if you were to melt it down and cast it into gold or something?
Okay, so what I have in my brain, because I remembered this because I did a bit of custom stuff for D&D back in 3rd edition. I had, and I'll talk about that in a minute because I was very proud of one of my major creations at that time. Because it involved a way of casting using your hit points as pool. And it ended up being
like blood mage.
It was a blood mage class, and it was very interesting. I had to do a lot of tweaking. It taught me a lot about doing that. Taught me a lot about RPG design. Let's see. Absolutely nobody completed anything. Oh, it was just exploration, so that's why nobody did. Oh god, I got distracted. I'll just set that up. Just set up the exploration. Alright, yes. So, there's a... So, D&D 3 at 3rd edition, at 3.5, have a lot of books, right? A lot. There's a lot of them. And as such, there's a lot of weird, obscure crap out there for it. And there's a feat, which, if you actually look at it in the book it's printed in, is entirely wrong. And it's rewritten entirely in the errata for that book. But it's a feat that effectively lets you reflavor spells.
Oh.
it doesn't actually really do anything helpful. Ah! Iggy's here! Ah! It is a maid raid.
Hello.
Oh! It's me! I'm BadSpaceKing, and Mental Marsupial's here. Which is nice. I like having company on these ones because there's not a lot for me to actually riff off of with this game.
Because it's mostly just balancing a checkbook.
Yeah, that's really what it is. Like, it's a very calm, relaxing, it's a very, like, nice game to pass the time away with. And, you know, I have a very soft spot for it. And also you can't buy it anymore, so have fun, have luck, have fun, like, ever seeing it. Ever.
Mm.
Yeah, you know what I'm about. You know what I'm about with this game. It's great. Love it. And you can't get it, and it's annoying. I will say to any lawyers listening, I do own this game. It is on my Wii. I do have it downloaded before the Wii shop shut down. And that's all I'm gonna say. Because I'm definitely I can't, you know, I'm not gonna say that this is definitely that copy or anything. I don't know why anyone would be confused on that point. No, don't need to fund anything. I think I've funded all the things I need to for the time being. Yeah, I have. Until I get more materials to update some... to be fair, I don't even really need to upgrade them yet, even if I did get the materials. Oh well. I got nothing to do. I'll just stand here until my advisor comes and tells me to go to bed. There she is. I'm going to bed. Oh! It set my clothes back to the default. It always does this when I load in. I'm going to sort that as soon as possible then. Yeah, so... Yes, that D&D feat I was talking about. It's actually quite bad. Because all it really mechanically does for you is it makes your spells harder to identify. So it just, like, makes Arcana checks against it harder. Because you do a thing and it goes... And you go, what the fuck is that? So you could, for instance, change your spells to be about money. And you do burning hands, and it's just burning money instead. And you fling flaming hot coins at people. Which is funny. But it isn't, like... It's not really worth a feat slot. At all. It's really not. But yeah, so at one point I decided I wanted a sort of... Okay, so there was a blood mage sort of prestige class in 3.5, but it wasn't very good, and it was not very flavorful to the idea of being one. So I decided, fuck it, I'm going to make one. And it's going to be a base class, so you can play it from the start. And the one thing I wanted it to do was to cast from your health.
Yes. Instead of it being like a spell slot, every spell would have a certain amount
hit points they would cost you to use them. Yeah. Now, turns out that's horrifically dangerous in terms of game balance.
Yeah.
So this led to lots and lots of tinkering. There were several things I had to do to make the class reasonably balanced. Oh, and I did make sure it was balanced. Like, back in the days when there were actual, like, forums on the D&D website, when that existed, there was a section for the people who like to break the system in half and make ridiculous builds. I threw the class at them and said, please break this in half. And eventually, when it was done, they went, we can only find one way of really breaking it, and it's not that great. So I was just like, yeah, cool, whatever. But that was after, like, at least a year of tinkering with it. Okay, there was an initial conceit I went into it with. So every class has a hit dice. They roll that dice when they level, that is their hit points. And the highest one is the Barbarians, which was a D12. You rolled a D12, you got that plus your Constitution bonus to your permanent hit points. I gave this class a D20.
Oh. Which, I mean, yeah, I guess it makes sense if you want something that'll really, have something to pull from.
Yeah.
Otherwise you can't cast anything.
Correct. They need to have the hit points in order to actually do anything. Now, I wasn't mad enough to give them, like, healing spells in their own spell system. That would have been very broken. But,
yeah.
I just made them use the usual wizard list. Now, yes, it did end up having ridiculous variants, which ended up being a problem. So, I ended up changing it. Like, this was much later. And actually, it was kind of based on a variant hit point dice pool thing that I'd seen before. So what I did was I actually changed the dice roll. Now. Oh my god. There is a very important thing I did to them to make it so it was not very good to dip into the class. But I'll get to that. I ended up changing it into, I think I changed it into D8 plus 12 plus con. So you ended up, there was some variance, but you always ended up with a decent amount. Which I often found was a problem with, like, the high variance hit point dice classes. Like fighters and barbarians and such, because if they rolled low, they were just fucked forever. And they were just screwed. Like, you can have the barbarian with less hit points than the wizard. It can happen.
Oh, that's...
And it sucks ass. So, no.
Can't be much of a meat wall when you got no meat.
Yeah. Now, there were things they could... Now, there was another thing that was put in it. Because I flavoured it as a sort of extremely old, before times magic.
Oh, hello, who joined?
And there were problems. And it had, as such, some problems. One, it was utterly incompatible with divine magic. Completely. To the point where a class feature you got at the first level prevented you being healed by divine spells. Ever.
Ever.
You just can't.
So you might as well have been undead, because you can't heal.
You just can't.
Divine magic.
Like, basically, I think I flavored it as positive energy effects cannot heal you. Actually, I think negative ones as well couldn't as well, in case you were being undead. But they had
Alright,
their own way of healing that they got at the second level. That was kind of end of day kind of thing.
Alright, I was gonna do a
Hey, Aguma!
But I couldn't figure out how to make my desktop the input.
Oh. Oh.
I was gonna just start playing the objects I've shoved up my arse video.
Fantastic as always.
Anyway,
Anyway, there ended up being a whole load of shit in the class. Like, there was stuff later on for stealing other people's blood for spells. And
what system is this?
D&D 3.5.
Oh, okay.
It's an old design I threw together. I say threw together. It took me like over a year of tinkering and fiddling and balancing and rebalancing until I eventually it worked and it wasn't broken. Despite how it fundamentally broke the idea of how D&D 3.5 was balanced. Because it was all based around, like, spell slots and things, and I chucked that out of the window.
I would like to see a setting, and it wouldn't even necessarily need to be a tabletop setting.
Have a drink.
Where, like, it doesn't even pretend to be balanced so that the physical classes have a fair shot. It's just, what kind of magic do you want to do? If you don't do magic, you live in hell now.
Cool.
And, like, you still theoretically could just be a guy with a weapon. But, like, magic users are going to turn you inside out. Like...
Like a sock.
Well, I did once try to play a completely normal person in an Exalted game. That,
Oh, hell yeah, that's the energy I'm going for.
Yeah, that went,
I guess it is the equivalent of, like, playing a normal person in Exalted, or even just, like, World of Darkness.
Yeah.
Like, even hunters have something.
Yeah, you can play... I mean, that's also something I have seen done. Although it doesn't tend to last long.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was a World of Darkness game I was in once, which everybody started as completely ordinary people.
That would actually be a really fun thing to do as a DM.
Bad shit happen to them.
And, yeah. I love the idea as a DM of, like...
They all became supernaturals over time, but...
Yeah, exactly, yeah, like... The DM is like, okay, you're all human now. Who knows what World of Darkness thing you're going to become?
Yeah, that is kind of how... like, we all had an idea as to where we wanted to go with it. But, like, the GM was like, where would you like to go with the character? Like, what line would you like to do things with?
Oh no, you become a mummy. Wait, how does the...
Some of them don't work for that at all, but...
Yeah, how does the mummy thing work? Can you become a modern-day mummy in that setting?
I
know nothing about it.
No, I think mummy is very much... You are, like... God, it's been a long while since I've read Mummy. I do like how Mummy had wasn't explicitly tied to Egypt. It was like all forms of burial and mummification, and it wasn't just ancient Egypt.
Can you be a bog body?
Yeah, you could! You could! You could do that! That was great! Yeah, oddly, one of those few times that a good take happened from White Wolf. How about that? Because, well, they've made some bad ones over the years.
A few notable ones.
Yeah, there's one I can't even say the name of. Because that is itself bad.
Yeah.
To the point where, like, the White Wolf wiki page on that particular book says, look, this is the name of the book, okay? We know this is what it's called. We're gonna say it, but only in this context and no other.
Yeah.
Because, oh no.
Oh no.
So, while I was looking up, like, oh, what are all of the traditions of mummies? Obviously, the most famous one is Egyptian.
Yeah.
But the method that people think of, where you get the brains out and then fill the head with resin and fragrances, and then organs out, and then stuff the whole thing with natron, and then cover it in natron, and then wash and oil the corpse, and then wrap it up. That is...
No, Tron wouldn't come out for like another 2,000 years, so...
But, like, that method was only what rich people got, because... Which is fucked up, because, like, again, the idea is, like, you need to preserve your body because that is literally the body you are going to get in the afterlife. And so I guess just nobody else got to have fun. So...
It's like, do you have money? No. Oh, but you're gonna be a skeleton.
Yeah. Let's see. Herodotus mentions a thing that middle-class people did. An oil derived from cedar trees was injected with a syringe into the abdomen. A rectal plug prevented the oil from escaping.
Yes, Omegon, that is the one I was talking about. That is the book I was thinking of.
Imagine, like, of all the ancient artifacts to have in your collection, you get the middle-class mummy butt plug.
So, apparently the oil both liquefied the internal organs and also disinfected everything, probably because it was capable of liquefying organs. And then that meant they didn't have to pay for canopic jars.
Ah, yeah.
And then they did the natron. And then they drained out the oil and let it finish dehydrating, and then that was the mummy. Poor people use coffins fashioned from terracotta. And then there was the least expensive method, where
Did they just leave it out in the desert?
They still did the natron, huh?
Huh.
I guess they could just reuse it, because it is... Natron, to be clear, is... what is natron? It's a natural salt consisting of... sodium carbonate decahydrate? And sodium bicarbonate. Baking soda. And some sodium chloride and sodium sulfate. So it's mostly, like... sodium carbonate and sodium bicarbonate.
So, because, yeah, I guess mostly what it would have been is, like, it would have become a very, hypertonic environment.
Yeah.
Or
yeah, it would just kill all microbes.
And then, yeah, it would have drawn out all the water. And then you just pulled that stuff out and sat it in the sun to dry.
Yeah.
Or put it over fire to dry again.
It was probably also a thing that varied by how rich you were. Like, oh, if you're rich, you can get the fresh natron.
Oh god, it's like, oh no, you get the reused Grease.
Gutter
It'd
oil.
be. Yeah, just imagine just getting the McDonald's reused Natron version of that. That'd be so bad.
Yeah, the least expensive method was just like they give the body an enema with something, it's not known what, and then it was put in the Natron. So there was a book where they made the Roma a monster.
Yes!
What? What?
And I can't say its name.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of which, like, that is the reason why that is a slur used for Roma people, is because they were mistaken for Egyptians. Or being from Egypt or something.
Yeah, but that's literally the name of the book.
Oh, fun.
And no, I don't think it was ever decanonized. I think it's just that they don't talk about it at all.
I mean, at this point, it's like, do we really want to just bring it up again?
No,
Like,
no,
Yeah.
they don't. They don't.
Yeah. I
we
know.
want everyone to forget.
Yeah, well, too bad. I'm not gonna let them. Not gonna let them forget. Anyway, I think I managed to get another one of those weird morale sphere things, so I should be able to start powering up the kingdom a bit more by making everyone have a good time.
Yeah, the idea of just morale sphere. Oh, I feel real good because I'm holding this orb.
I mean, it's a nice orb.
If I was holding a nice enough orb, I would feel good. You remember when, like, Trump and the Saudi guy touched the orb?
Yes! They touched an orb!
I definitely saw that image.
Wow,
Like the
Darren
most
Celsus, you
ill-advised
keep
photo
murdering
shoot of all
everything.
time.
Wow. Have more intellect.
You can't do that and not look like a supervillain.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, you look like M. Bison. Stop. You're not helping. You are not escaping the allegations.
So let's see. Oh yeah, they're Christian mummies, which I think. So the idea is like, oh, they were incorruptible.
Now, would that be specifically a Catholic thing, or is that also like a Protestant thing as well?
That's a good question. It's apparently a thing in Eastern Orthodoxy.
Ah.
Yeah, it seems like it's mostly a thing in Catholicism and Eastern Orthodoxy. It's crazy. Wikipedia doesn't have any, like, explanation of what's actually going on, because obviously they're not fucking incorruptible.
Yeah.
But I think part of it might just be like, I don't know, these bodies aren't looking too good. I'm not sure how incorruptible they are. Like, they did not literally become a skeleton, but
It's like, yeah, they're looking a little aged. The saint
I
is
imagine
right.
I imagine it comes down to a range of methods of ways that people in various places preserved the bodies. Let's see, Africa, the Canary Islands. Apparently, the Canary Islands, the native people, the Guanche, mummified. All deceased people within the Guanche culture were mummified during this time.
Huh.
Embalming was carried out by specialized groups who were considered unclean by the rest of the community. Why do we do that to people who handle our dead? You think we'd be appreciative. But humans tend to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is weird. We should respect people who have to do the dirtier jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
Like rubbish collection and handling corpses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Historically,
and
it
talking
was
to
often
conservatives.
What? Like a person you pay them and they talk to your aunt that you can't talk to anymore.
Yeah, that'd be great.
No, that's just working at Chick-fil-A.
Just send
God.
someone to talk to that racist grandma you have. Just so you don't have to.
You've heard of Speaker for the Dead. This is Speaker for the soon-to-be-dead.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's all I got.
It's good enough.
But in a lot of cultures, that was typically how caste systems formed. Is that there was some job that was deemed unsuitable for regular people, so they had to have a class that did it. And yeah, it was often handling the dead. Oftentimes, it would be like butchering animals.
Mm-hmm.
Which that's maybe even crazier, because like at least if it's handling the dead, then like that's an exceptional circumstance that doesn't happen very often in your life. But you eat meat pretty often, even back then. So like
Yeah. Like the whole living in an abattoir sort of thing.
Yeah. Fun fact, Japan had its own version of this class. Before the Meiji, which was when they reformed everything and got rid of the weirdest stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They had a class called the Burakumin. And there's still, so I'll get into that after I go over the historical case, but feudal class who were associated with kegare, defilement, such as executioners. I mean that one. Executioners, undertakers, slaughterhouse workers, butchers, and tanners. Tanning, because like tanning was a really gross job.
Oh, it's nasty, because first you gotta skin it, then you gotta scrape it, then you take the brains, and then you mush it in the thing, and then you scrape it again.
Very often you're working with piss.
Yeah, you're frequently working with piss.
And poop.
And spiders, and knives, and poison gas, and... I'm just
fart gas.
I'm just making stuff up. And sharks.
And God, like people who used to, like in the older days, people who had to work with bronze and metal casting often had to work with shit as well.
Yeah, because you know what are some of the metals that you use in making bronze? Tin, antimony, and lead. 3 things you don't want to inhale the fumes of.
And God forbid if anybody had to work with mercury, which was often.
I mean, What wasn't who had the terracotta warriors created?
That was Qin Shi Huang.
Wasn't Qin Shi Huang like buried with just an ungodly amount of mercury, or like that he was dying
I think
and
he
they
was
tried to fix it by feeding him mercury?
Basically, Qin Shi Huang is fascinating because he established basically the MO for Chinese emperors. First, because he didn't build the Great Wall, he united several fortifications that were already built by other states into the Great Wall, or a version of it. He did the Terracotta Warriors, which granted only he did that, but it's just very Chinese emperor to do.
It's incredible in spectacle.
Yeah. He did the burning of books and the burying of scholars,
Right.
which was literally where an advisor to the emperor was like, "We have too many ideologies. We should have less. You should kill a lot of intellectuals." Not even like asserting some kind of conspiracy, just like, we don't need all this.
Look, we've got enough books. We don't need more.
Literally said, "We think too much. Kill them."
And that's what established like Confucianism and legalism as the default stance of the Chinese states, like dynasties that would follow.
I'm kind of familiar with Confucianism. What is legalism?
Legalism, it has kind of a in Chinese philosophy, because there's other things legalism can refer to, but it's kind of I think it was actually like existed alongside Confucianism and kind of used with it, but it was never exactly the same. But it is basically the optimal way for things to be is for there to be a bureaucracy, and that is like a moral thing as well.
Oh God. Let things be bogged down by bureaucracy. It's better.
Well, bureaucracy in this case means it is genuinely fascinating, the system that China had, where it was like you had exams and then like a system of I mean, I don't have a better term than bureaucrats, but they were like people that could read. Because they didn't have a priestly class that did all the intellectual stuff, so they had to like have a school system that just found all the kids that was smart, and they became bureaucrats. The civil service, yeah.
How much did, like, so I imagine there were, you know, a fairly decent sized, even if they weren't a distinct like class or caste, that, you know, religious scholars and things like that were a thing. However, was literacy just not a regular part of it, or like what kind of differentiated?
Differentiate what?
Just like why, like how would they become a like from a scholar that could read and write and would be a part of that sort of legal?
Oh,
like
they would take the exam.
That is the most. What exam? You could not have phrased that in a more intimidating way.
The exam.
The imperial examination, which apparently more literally translated would be subject recommendation, which is very vague.
That doesn't help its case at all. It still sounds very intimidating.
Was a civil service examination system in Imperial China administered for the purpose of selecting candidates for the state bureaucracy. The concept of choosing bureaucrats by merit rather than by birth started early in Chinese history. Tang Dynasty became dominant during the Song Dynasty. It lasted for almost a millennium until its abolition during the late Qing Dynasty. But it was so I guess Qin Shi Huang didn't establish this particular one. This came a bit later and developed over time. The exams served to ensure a common knowledge of writing, Chinese classics. You had to remember, okay, the Chinese classics and literary style among state officials. The ideal of achievement by merit gave legitimacy to imperial rule. I like how we, really quickly got to why meritocracy isn't as good as it sounds. Because, who's determining what is merit? The examination system...
well, obviously, the people who should be determining merit are the people who are best at doing that.
Yeah.
That's that makes sense in a meritocracy, right?
Yeah.
The person who is best at saying who has merit should be the people saying that.
Yeah. I will say, it definitely led to an interestingly different society because, aristocracy wasn't really that important in China. You were kind of either the emperor, who would eventually become not the emperor, because you lost the mandate of heaven, and that means we're going to eat you. I actually don't think any of the emperors were eaten. There was a prime minister of the Netherlands that got eaten.
Wait, what?
What?
Yeah.
How? We're going to eat you, actual cannibalism.
We're here to eat you now. Please do not resist.
Bro, we're gonna eat you. You're cooked. You're literally cooked. I forget. I forget exactly what. It's just that the prime minister was unpopular at the time. This was, I think, in the 1600s, and he was being blamed for everything that got wrong for the country, which might have been somewhat fair placing of blame. But the people who killed him. Oh, thank you, Pank. Nerd Squad Detective. Oh, Pank redeemed the Wheel of Suffering. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they did.
Hey, Pank.
Push-ups.
Aguma's teaching me about Chinese history.
I'll go do push-ups while Aguma teaches you all about Chinese history.
I am sorely lacking that category.
To finish the anecdote, yeah, the people that killed the Dutch prime minister were let's just take out his liver and cook it and eat it. They just had a goofy
specifically
moment.
His liver?
Apparently his liver, yeah. Maybe some other parts. It's unclear. It's just it was described as if people got a hold of some parts of him and nibbled on them.
Ew. Look, make all the jokes about cannibalism that you want, but the moment that you actually start eating people, I'm like, bro, you have a problem.
I'm just imagining the scene where Patrick is nibbling on the bone in the picnic. You know that? It was lost in the fucking kelp forest. Yeah.
It's spreading. It's spreading. Aguma's doing it now too.
Listen, I was a SpongeBob kid. I just tapped out earlier than you did.
What do you mean tapped out earlier? You mean you didn't get past season 2?
I don't know how many seasons of SpongeBob there were. You alright?
Some. There was some. I don't know. I have no idea.
I basically didn't watch anything after the movie.
Yeah, there was up until season 4, and then they made the movie.
And then Hillenberger stopped working on it.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, no, that's actually what happened. Is he took a more hands-off approach, and then there was a period of time that he then came back and had a more hands-on approach, and it shows. Like the quality, like I feel like it waned at times, and you know,
what episode
also,
was that fucking bit with Squidward's toenail from?
God, House Fancy. God, don't.
Everybody's gangsta until House Fancy comes on.
Yeah, and then we all start throwing up in our mouths at the idea of a toenail.
It's one big toenail. Anyway,
Anyway, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Bro,
We'll
not
continue.
okay. I saw the House Fancy.
I'm sorry that you're feeling bad, Pink, but I hope I can make you feel better. I do want to do my own stream later, so you'll have a lot of Aoguma to work with.
Yeah, there'll be more Aoguma later. But there's also Aoguma right now.
Yeah. So it is
worth more.
Guma Morb. So by having this whole imperial system, they did kind of they didn't really have much of an aristocracy in China. I'm sure they had some, but it wasn't like official. It wasn't like a hereditary ruling class. It was just kind of like scholar bureaucrats, and they were like one of the factions. Because the fact is, they didn't have like military power backing them up, so they had the military to kind of balance them out, which is not ideal. But
now, what was the military power? Was that localized to small territories, or was that like, oh, we are like an army that belongs to like an emperor?
It was like the army of the emperor. Like it was
okay. It wasn't like something that would be more like a feudal army.
Yeah,
like,
their system was based more on like regions.
Okay,
it's sort of like how in the Roman Empire. I guess this kind of just applies to a lot of empires. It was based in like governors and had larger regions.
Yeah.
The imperial examination system became a more formal system. And developed into a roughly 3-tiered ladder from local to provincial to court exams. So you'd have your local exam to become like a local boy.
I'm a local boy.
Local boy makes good. Succeeds in provincial exam.
Well done. You've now earned the rank of boy.
Your demi-boy is evolving. Oh no! So during the Ming Dynasty, authorities narrowed the content down to mostly texts on Neo-Confucian orthodoxy. The highest degree, the Jinshi, became essential for the highest offices. On the other hand, holders of the basic degree, the Shengguan, became vastly oversupplied, resulting in holders who could not hope for office. So it was just straight up like, as education improved, privateers.
They're thinking more, kill them.
Yeah, they're thinking, kill them. Don't you want to think about this? No!
And that went on to inspire civil service systems in other countries like Japan, Korea, Vietnam. In addition to Asia, reports by European missionaries and diplomats introduced the Chinese exam system to the Western world and encouraged France, Germany, as well as the East India Company to use similar methods to select prospective employees.
Wow, I hate that. Now I know why.
Oh, yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah. And apparently, so they implemented it in the East India Company, and then the British government saw how successful it was, so they started doing it throughout the United Kingdom in 1855. So it isn't like, oh, that's weird, the Chinese had like a system resembling exams. They really did invent exams.
Wow. Fuck them.
Thanks. I think that's fair.
Just
Fuck
imagine in ancient
imperial
society. No term papers. No.
I mean, there was the guy that led to a war that killed millions of people because he failed his exams.
I mean,
I'm not even
mood.
talking about Hitler.
That was yeah. Wait. Aren't you talking about the guy who thought he was Jesus' brother?
Oh yes, that guy.
Yeah. Don't worry.
See,
I'm not going mood when thinking about Adolf Hitler. That's
No.
that would be ooh,
That would be in poor taste.
yeah.
No, there was a guy who let's see.
God, I hope nobody abuses the quote commands just then.
So let's see. There was the well, that was the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom. I think that was that. Was it the Taiping? Taiping Heavenly Kingdom. Led by Hong Xiuquan. Yeah, okay, yeah. So basically he failed his exams several times. And after he failed one more time, he got so frustrated that he had like a mental break and decided that he was the younger son, or the younger brother of Jesus Christ. And he had to rid the world of demon worship. So he invented this, he literally became the Joker, yeah. He started this weird fusion of Christianity and like Chinese local religions, Taoism and stuff, and founded the God-worshipping society.
That generic as hell.
Yeah.
Well, God-worshipping society just is like all deity-based religions, isn't it? That's just all of them?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like
it's just
you're describing religion. That's just religion.
So they eventually declared the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom, and they actually managed to take Nanjing from China, which was like one of the historic capitals of Chinese dynasties, and they declared it the capital. How many people died in this war? Taiping Rebellion. Somewhere around up to 30 million people. Which is quite a few! Why did so many people die in that war? That's just kind of how wars went in China.
Yeah, I think it's about sending a message, Aguma.
the message is written in bodies.
Yeah.
It's not about the paper money. It's about sending a message.
It was a total war.
Oh, so everything was dedicated to just murdering as many people as humanly possible.
The Taiping Heavenly Kingdom conscripted everyone into the military.
Oh boy.
Now, everyone over the age of 7 can support their country.
Speaking of which, did you see the guy on Twitter that didn't... I mean, if you're not on Twitter, then no. But just a new guy on Twitter not getting Starship Troopers.
Oh no.
But it was a really fun variation because he understood on an intellectual level that it was clearly supposed to be satire, but he was trying to argue that it couldn't be satire.
Wait, the book or
the movie?
The movie is satire.
Okay, because,
the book is not
because
satire.
the movie is satire. The book is absolutely matter of fact, despite how utterly insane it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry, nobody's ever talking about the book.
Thank God.
Even though it invented
It's-
power armor.
Except, I think, probably Pank, because, you know, they would definitely talk about that.
Oh, I thought you were saying Pank invented power armor.
I don't think.
I mean, they probably would.
They
but
would if it didn't already.
Speaking of which, did you know we're getting mechs and Helldiver soon?
Hey, speaking of which, do you want to play Helldiver with me later today?
Yes.
Okay. I'll buy it. I'll buy that for a high price.
God
Helldiver
damn,
2.
am I gonna have to train you too?
Helldivers Dive Harder Edition.
That's like the
Super Citizen
premium.
Edition. What is the Super Citizen Edition?
Helldivers with a vengeance.
I think Super Citizen is like you get some armor and stuff as a bonus.
Okay, I thought you meant like you get you get like a single
also
piece
you
of
get
armor.
You also get a badge by your thing that says Super Citizen, and it's gold.
I might upgrade to it if I turn out to really like the game, but I'll just get the base version now. And it's gold. It's gold!
It's gold.
Never mind, I'm in.
Being mentioned by Roger
Yeah,
Flash's
but-
satire is... I mean, because
But
it is.
like-
This game is, like, I can't believe it's not Starship Troopers.
It's just Starship Troopers with capes.
Like, you're literally, like, fighting giant bugs and robot space communists.
Oh,
yeah.
well, that. Oh,
Which, I mean, like, if there weren't the actual camps full of, like, dumpsters and dumpsters and dumpsters and dumpsters of human bodies, I'd be like, robot space communists. Kind of based.
but
But there's a lot of human killing, so I'm not too big on that.
Well, you know, I mean, even the
are we
bugs
talking
in
about
Starship Troopers
that
had
sort of communism?
Yes. I'm saying that the robots are tankies.
Oh dear.
I know there's a particular level in Helldivers 2 that people call Robot Vietnam.
I thought I was the only one who called it Robot Vietnam. Because it's just like it is
You
the
land
Ho Chi Minh
and
Trail.
there is just it is just chaos all around you with tracer. Well, they're not tracer rounds; they're literal
They're
laser
lasers.
bolts. But they
And-
look like tracer rounds, so it's just it's everything's foggy and misty, and it's just chaos. Yeah. I saw a clip of it.
My favorite clip is the one where it's the two guys. They both like swan dive off of the side of a thing. First guy goes yippee, and then face plants, but he's fine. And then the other guy goes yippee, and he face plants, and then a resupply pod drops on his head, killing him instantly.
Communists in the way that any American calls any country further east than the UK communists. Well, I was reading about the way that the speaking of mass death events,
Speaking of
very
mass
cheery.
oh boy!
Just on
I
the
was
topic
reading
of
about-
mass death.
So a lot. So
This
when you're
can't go
talking
hard.
about culpability for, by the way, please look forward to the debut album of my band Mass Death, my fucking black metal band.
There's got to be a band called that already.
Actually, it wouldn't even be black metal. I feel like that would just be mainline metal. Hold on, let me look up Mass Death.
I mean, there's Mass Attack, but that's not
I
even
love
metal.
Massive Attack. Massive Attack is great.
Yeah.
Teardrop on the
one of
fireplace. A single tear wells up and rolls down Aguma's cheek.
That's what people get worried about you when you walk around in 6-inch deep snow with no shoes and just sweatpants.
Yes, yes, they
And a hoodie.
do.
Yeah, Pank.
Yeah, Pag, they
I
do.
get you lived in Florida, but that's some mentally ill stuff. I mean, okay, well, we're all mentally
Yeah,
ill, but
like
that's
all
not
of us
the
are.
point.
Come on.
Hey, I grew up in Minnesota, so I just walk my dog in just like a bathrobe even when it's the coldest.
You nearly had a heart attack when you had to chase after your dog the other day.
That was because of the exertion. If you
I don't think
combine
the
the two,
cold
I'm
helps.
fucked. Yeah, I totally know. But if you could bind the two, I'm fucked. If it's just cold, I'm fine. But so whenever you talk about like culpability for like a famine, it's always a bit like, I mean, you can imagine how there's a lot of argument to be made there because famines happen naturally, at least historically.
Yeah.
And it's only going to become more complicated in the wake of anthropogenic climate change.
Yeah.
But one where it isn't really controversial at all is the Great Chinese Famine.
Was that
Because
the
it
one that was caused by killing all the starlings or whatever?
That was one of the causes. So I feel like we need to examine this because this really shows like a great failure of, like, not that we have to like take Chinese communism as like a big example, but like just in general how like people power things can make huge mistakes that can lead to these kind of evils happening. Because this was a mass famine that wasn't really caused by any kind of intentional like malice. Like, you know, the famine that the USSR did in
maybe,
Ukraine
but...
was probably, it was just mass incompetence and a very critical miscalculation on the part of people who were revolutionaries a few years before this happened. So this is a big what do you do after the revolution thing.
I'm going Disneyland.
Brother, Disneyland no longer exists. Fucking a People's Vanguard unit pushed it into the ocean.
I'm imagining like peasants with forklifts just pushing.
Just push the whole thing. Just as a complete unit.
It's not even close to the shore. It's like in the middle of Florida.
Yeah, they just
keep
push it all the way.
It's
just
like...
a big, like, a big just
it's leaving like, yeah, it's leaving like noticeable gouge marks in the land. Why did that hit me so hard?
So, like, there was a general down. It was kind of a below average harvest, but it probably wouldn't have been a mass famine during this period.
Shit.
But there were some other factors, and this, to be clear, resulted the estimates vary hugely from 15 to 55 million. And generally, the highest one isn't accurate. You know, it's kind of actively trying to, like, give the highest possible. But then the lowest one is doing the opposite, so, you know, you kind of... let's say 20 to 40 million people. So what happened? First of all, they had something called the Great Leap Forward, which was a effort to reform Chinese society. It was basically this is what, like, you know, when the Chinese, or when the Communist Party is like selling itself, it's like, this is what we're gonna do. It's the Great Leap Forward. So they established people's
we are
communes.
the enlightened.
Yeah. They established people's communes, which were collective farms and collective mess halls, dining halls. Which is, I mean, I don't know about collective farms, but I think having dining halls is cool.
No, I think farms has to be treated very carefully, because then you end up in a situation where, wow, because my neighbor's sesame field sucks, and I share it with my neighbor, now I'm going to get punished for the fact that he can't fertilize his sesame fields for shit.
We'll be getting into that, but so this is one of the primary reasons was like the system was you would cultivate the land, you would then give the output to the government, and then the government would use central planning to distribute it. The issue was that the government declared a where is it? What was it called? It was the mass line. And one of the aspects of the mass line was to go all out, aim high, and build socialism with greater, better, and more economical results. That's a quote.
Oh.
Go all out. And so that was very common, was like...
Balls to the wall communism. Favorite King Death,
what is your
real
favorite
or...
King Death, real or fictional?
What?
What is King Death?
No. Which king died? That's... Which is your favorite? Which king is your favorite that has
King
been
Death.
dead?
Death of a king.
Yeah.
Well, the Prime Minister of the Netherlands wasn't a king, so I can't say that.
Man was
Where
eaten.
people were
Man
like,
was eaten.
yeah, we killed him, but I don't know. He's looking kind of tasty. Let me just...
I mean, I'm remembering something vaguely about one king who literally died through red hot poker insertion into the anus. Which
Actually, who was that? Was it there an emperor that like was on the toilet or something, or a vassal or something, and he got stabbed in the butt by an assassin? In like
that was in the Bible.
Well, that counts for
that was the
fictional
thing
then.
in the Bible.
No,
Yeah.
I thought that was in Japan. I mean, not
in
at all
Japan,
in the
maybe.
Bible. Like there was it was apocryphal, but you know.
Brother, everything in the Bible happened in Japan. That's what they don't want you to know.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, they're all ancient history in ancient Japan. Now here's
That's what they don't
giant
want to
enemy
know.
crab 416.
Yeah. I mean, the Bible would have a giant enemy crab in it. It had fucking Leviathan.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the giant enemy spider. Okay, I don't know how legitimate this was, but as far as I remember, the depiction of the whale that ate Jonah, it wasn't a whale. It was just a big fish. It was
Okay,
like
the literal
like the-
translation is that Jonah was swallowed by a big fish.
Yeah,
I've heard the assertion that that was a turn of phrase. It was an idiom in the time
Yeah.
for having a great conflict of like what you
Which,
should
I mean,
do.
which makes sense given the context of what that entire book is about, which is
Yeah.
he doesn't want to go to Nineveh.
Yeah, all of them is
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a big fish.
great big fish?
Just a real large
Which
fish.
is which great big fish is a band name as well.
That's
Maybe he
real
was going
big
to a
fish.
concert. Real big fish. That okay. Well, guess what? I bet you're a part of Big Fish. You know, trying to fight me for eating skate right out of the lake.
I'm one of those people who supports the assertion that fish isn't a real term that exists. So big fish should probably be quite cross with me.
Big Fish has sent the assassins.
Yeah, I just went up to Big Fish and say, "You aren't real," and then they fade away.
Yeah.
Do they do like a and just
They just sort of
They're gone.
stare at me. They just sort of stare at me, and then they just slowly disappear.
Let's see. I'm looking for what ancient kings died in interesting ways. A Greek tyrant, that counts. Was murdered with a poisoned toothpick.
Oh.
Oh,
I mean, Qin Shi Huang would count. So yes, I never even got into that, but the other way that he established the prototypical Chinese emperor was by looking for a way to become immortal. He was obsessed with trying to become immortal.
Right. Yeah, right. Well, it was
and
the,
that
that
led
was the
to
Mercury,
eventually
not
one
the-
of his scholars was like, I don't know, fuck, we've tried so many things, take these mercury pills.
oh.
And then
because that's never gone genuinely awful.
you think they would make the connection eventually.
Okay. Here's the thing. I think people started to and they just didn't care because we've known that lead and asbestos has killed people since there is ancient Greek pottery that describes people in asbestos mines dying of lung problems.
That good heavy
We've been new.
It was so cringe that humans had to stop using mercury for things. Because, okay.
It's so cringe.
So cringe. Because it was so cool for so many things. You know the lights at the top of lighthouses?
Yeah.
That turn? Like the ones that look like weird glass art, those ones? They used to float on a pool of mercury because it is essentially one giant continuous ball bearing. It's the smoothest ride you could possibly make.
And it's because it has just incredible density.
Yeah.
Hold the
You can
phone.
float an anvil on fucking...
Yeah, you can. Although, hold the phone. I have developed the kingdom. It is now the promised land of space.
Okay.
You can now speak to all the people at the same time from atop the lookout tower. Oh. I'll get to trying that later then.
I'm reading about Qin Shi Huang's death. I think there was a rumor that he was also entombed in mercury. It's really just kind of...
Just dunk
really
him
just-
in it like he's a big little dessert.
Dunkaroo.
Like
Dunkachino.
Dunkachinos. Get out of my head. Get out of my head.
No.
Oh, this is obviously apocryphal, but I just want to read it. In 211
Oh, no.
BC, a large meteor is said to have fallen in Dongjun, in the lower reaches of the Yellow River, and someone inscribed the seditious words, "The first emperor will die and his land will be divided." The emperor sent an imperial secretary to investigate this prophecy. No one would confess to the deed, so all living nearby were put to death and the stone was pulverized.
I drew an angry face on
Great.
a rock, and he just killed everyone.
Killed everyone nearby.
Well, I guess things really haven't changed with the Chinese leaders.
Yeah. I think that they're actually... I recall something about people claiming to... like, oh, this rock naturally looks like it has these Chinese characters on it.
I mean, there was that with the... Like, it didn't naturally look like that, but I forget which stone it was, but it was one of the awful archaeology things that Mini Minuteman covered. It was like a stone that had these little... I think it was like... Nordic runes on it, and it's just like, that's... Okay, first of all, those don't look like those. Secondly, also, why would that exist here in America? Where it's like...
Well, I mean...
Well, they did...
No.
They did get...
Yeah, that was in Canada. That's the thing.
Like,
I'm
talking about like Utah. I'm talking about...
No, it was Minnesota, because I'm privy to this.
Ah.
Yeah, the guy had... There was...
Not the Minnesota lore.
Because a bunch of Scandinavians moved to Minnesota, so it sold really well of like, oh yeah, it turns out the Vikings that came over here, like they got all the way to Minnesota back then. They did not.
Sure.
Now that being said, they have found coins from those Vikings surprisingly far from where they settled.
Oh yeah.
Because, they traded with the locals, and then the locals, went elsewhere.
Yeah, it's not like they had a local exchange where you could get currency conversion. It's... no.
Yeah.
Can't go down to the post office and get some dollars for your Norwegian crown or whatever.
You are now in the gravity well of Ohio. No!
No!
Yeah, by mentioning Minnesota, you activated my stand. You're going to fucking Duluth, kiddo.
God damn it.
See, when you say Duluth, I just think Duluth Trading, so it's like, oh, you're just gonna get me some really nice and really, really expensive moisture-wicking underpants.
Yeah. And the ballroom jeans. Remember the ballroom jeans?
God damn it, not the ballroom. Yeah, when it pinches my nuts when I squat down too far.
Yeah.
Ooh, I've gained a new building type. Sacred Shrines. Sacred Shrines bring good fortune to the kingdom. Shrines will inspire nearby training facilities to create special abilities. Also, if you pray to the shrines, adventurers can gain special bonuses. Okay. Sure. Where would I want one then? Yeah, here.
Oh my god. You can hear him, oh no. Little Mans is arguing.
Let's see. The Byzantine emperor was assassinated with a bucket.
As in, like, they just...
Oh, it's a tiny
they
little
just, like,
building.
put a bucket on his head and, like, kicked him in the head? What do you mean?
I don't know, it just says he was killed with a bucket.
Next time your family sees you, like, I'll be carrying you around in a bucket and just roundhouse kicks them.
What? Okay. Oh.
I forget what that quote is from, if I'm even remembering it correctly.
Louis the Third.
Didn't Henry was it Henry VIII explode when he died?
Maybe.
Like it was.
I'm going in chronological order.
I think
so.
yes, but that wasn't like he didn't like pop. It was
no. It was like he after he died and he like started to decompose. He just like swelled up like a whale fall and exploded.
What, like fucking Mr. Creosote?
I mean, like it was like due to fucking decomposition, but so
Yeah,
it wasn't
and
like like if you took the footage of Mr. Creosote and like slowed it down by a lot of times.
Is it Mr. Creosote the one where it's the guy, he gets so angry he like swells up and steam's coming out of his nose and
Mr. Creosote is from Monty Python's Meaning of Life. It's a sketch about someone who eats until he explodes. Yeah.
Okay.
And it is fucking disgusting and I love it.
Yeah.
But you're thinking of the guy from Big Trouble in Little China, which we have to watch at some point.
Oh god, yes.
Because that is an amazing film. Okay, so Louis III of France rode his horse through a door and banged his head on the door frame and it killed him. And then Charles VIII of France was just walking through a door and banged his head on the door frame, and it killed him. So kings of France.
Bro, apparently doors are just fatal to the monarchy.
I'd better watch out. Oh no.
It's just John Cleese, the Monty Python, became like a super Tory conservative, and the rest of the cast hates him now. Yeah. That sucks because he was so talented. It's a shame he died.
Yeah. God, yeah, Eric Idle is still very based, though.
Yeah. The Basil I's belt was entangled between antlers of a deer during a hunt, and animal subsequently dragged him for 16 miles through the woods. Okay. Wait, hold on. Because of this accident, he contracted fever, and he died. So it wasn't even being dragged for 16 miles. He just got a cold because he was outside for that long.
Wow.
Like, I would have thought it's like, oh, he died because he was, gouged to death on, like, elk antlers. No, he got, like, dysentery because he ate too much mud when he got dragged and died.
Imagine you're part of the king's fucking retinue and he gets dragged off by a deer. Like, that's... Okay. It's just, like, do you tell people that's what happened?
Yeah, that's one of those things where it's like, there's no good way to be like, the king is dead.
Yeah.
Especially when
Edmund. So, the English King Edmund Ironside was allegedly stabbed whilst on a toilet by an assassin hiding underneath. There might also have been a Japanese figure that it happened to.
Literally caught with your pants down.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is fine. Let's keep talking about monarch death. This is what we want. This is the content they're here for.
Okay,
I'm not even joking.
I need to look it up because I can't remember which one it was.
Oh, that's funny. So there was the Holy Roman Empire launched a campaign to restore Bela the First of Hungary to the throne. Oh wait, no. Oh, they launched a campaign to restore a different guy to the throne, and the guy they were trying to depose, his throne broke underneath him, and he was injured, and he died.
Oh.
Oh my. This bro got a raw deal at IKEA and it killed him. Okay, so yeah. I found the which one it was. Okay, so King didn't die from this, but should have 1000% killed him, and it's just kind of incredible that it didn't. Henry V, in 1403 during the Battle of Shrewsbury, Prince Henry was shot in the face with an arrow. The left side of his nose with an arrow, and then buried 6 inches into his sinuses.
Oof.
Yeah.
And it was so deep they were able to, like, they grabbed the haft of the arrow, and they pulled. They got the haft. Just the haft.
Yeah.
There was no arrowhead on it. Because it was still in his face.
A Spanish nobleman died by drinking water after exercising.
Oh my god. So there was the actual good part of this thing that is, arguably just as good as him if he were to die from it, was the blacksmith got the easy life after coming up with an invention specifically to remove arrowheads out of the faces of young princes.
Yes. I actually saw a YouTube short about that.
Okay, wait. Let me see if it's the Henry the Fifth.
The Bradmore Arrow Extractor.
Yeah.
Here we go.
There's
I am going to link it. Wait, where can I link it? Just link it here.
I don't know. Just.
Hey, Helldivers 2 finished downloading.
Hey, so
George, do you want to get in on that?
What?
Helldivers 2.
I don't have it.
Would it be saving money if I got it for you?
It would save me
how the
money.
Conversion works. Well, yes. Oh, Pank, you'd like to get in on it? But it's like $40.
Yeah. It's expensive.
That's true. Yeah, it's really hard to like.
Okay, Pank. What if you made like a fun little, like a separate thing that is just like, y'all like a specific game? Well, here's a small pile of funds to make it cheaper for me, and then like people would donate to that.
Yeah.
So it's like you could
because often like
a Steam game instead of having someone.
I'll be honest. I want to
thing.
play this game with you and Gorge and Pank and possibly several other people, but like it is $40, and that is a bit beyond my ability to be munificent. And just get it for everyone.
Yeah. There's no like.
But I would pitch in like.
Yeah.
I'd throw like $10 into each fund.
I wish there was a way to, like, natively in Steam crowdfund wishlist games.
Yeah.
God, that would be good, wouldn't it?
Instead of it being like, oh, donate to Ko-Fi in this little crowdfunding thing, and then I gotta pull from Ko-Fi, and then also, like, the like 30 cents.
Okay, so Pank, I wanted to play that myself, but I if I'm able to, I might just join you for Sunday.
This one.
Yeah.
Oh, I found a video for you for later. But it's an actual thing that the History Squad, this guy actually goes into, like, with a replica of the tool itself, and a replica of, Prince Henry's face with the arrow in it, and all the gooshy sound effects that go with it.
Send it to me.
Yes.
Do it.
You also get to hear a brand new term, like the Royal Gunge Sucker.
Gunge sucker.
Where, you have to, there is nastiness in that wound as it heals. So you would have a young farmhand who would come in with a big straw.
Yeah.
And then he'd siphon out the Royal Gunge.
Oh.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
Oh, here's mine on the same topic. This one is done like clearly on the field of like some kind of reenactment area.
Mm-hmm. What is gunge? It's a general term for nastiness. So in this case, it would be like pus and blood and honey, because they put bandages wrapped in honey into his face and his sinus cavity.
No, that's real. I don't think you would do that for the sinus. No, stuffing bandages into a wound is actually a thing that's done.
Oh yeah. I took actually a class on packing stab and bullet wounds, like emergency, response, because we live in America. You better know how to do that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think granted, it is bullshit that, like, you have a point, but also I think it's generally a good thing to know, like, because people get stabbed accidentally. Stabbed. A little bit of fucking Minnesota came out there. People get stabbed.
But it's so when you are packing a wound, you don't stop. Period. Yeah. You don't stop packing the wound. You keep stuffing stuff in until you can't stuff anything more in, and then you keep pushing on it, and then you let the doctors pull all that out, because they're trained to not let someone bleed to death.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what they call you while you are stuffing, any absorbent material into their wound. It doesn't matter how many times they punch you in the face and say ungodly things to your mother.
Yeah.
You just keep stuffing them.
Yeah.
Also, don't use tampons. Don't use tampons.
I wish somebody would call me.
Don't do that.
Oh,
it's a stupid thing that is completely incorrect, and it's just going to kill someone.
Yeah. I need to get this line out, though. I wish somebody would call me mean things while I stuffed them. There.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough.
Put your money where your mouth is?
So, Henry I of England supposedly ate too many lampreys against his physician's advice, which killed him.
Death. Not even getting, like, bitten by a lamprey. And
I'm imagining live lampreys, just like, oh, they're wriggling, my tummy feel crazy. Oh.
Drinking sea monkeys by the gallon, my tummy.
It's crazy.
Chugging lampreys. Okay, here's a weird thing that is specifically related to lampreys. In high school, I made a promise to my best friend that if they were to die before me, I would have to give them a burial at sea, specifically in the open ocean, so that they, and I quote, may feed the lampreys.
Based.
I mean, yeah,
you should dump them in the Sargasso Sea in the specific spot where all the eels reproduce.
I thought you were going to say in the specific ocean. I was going to have to fight you.
Specific ocean.
Well, see, that's the thing. We don't know where the eels make more eels.
Yeah,
we know they do.
We do. Well, we've been able to round it down to, like, okay, they go into the Sargasso Sea,
and
then they fuck over there in there. somewhere.
How deep do you think they go? Do you think it's like beyond the light level?
Balls deep.
No, ocean depth. Besides, I think eels would. I think are well, not they're not broadcast spawners like a sponge would be, but like they kind of into the ocean and then it gets a couple eggs.
Yeah. Henry I of Castile was 13, but he was king, and he was killed by a tile that fell from a roof.
Oh god. Well, how old was Nero when he took the title of emperor?
Here, hold on. Youngest Roman
I knew dude was
emperor.
unhinged. Dude had problems with a capital P.
Gordian III was apparently the youngest sole emperor of a united Roman Empire at 13.
Jesus Christ. Imagine, God, dude's still picking his nose, and he's being made emperor.
Getting fathoms deep in him. The last Abbasid caliph was executed by the Mongol captors by being rolled up in a rug, then trampled by horses.
Okay, I know it's like leading to the death of someone, but the imagery of someone being a little burrito, little sushi roll, and being crunched by horses is so absurd. I can't help
but
but
laugh. The Mongols were like unhinged. Because that was their whole deal, was like, we want to extract tribute from people, we would prefer not to invade people, but so we need to be able to scare them, so we will scare them by being the most unhinged we can possibly be.
Well, we have invented a machine, that is moved by horses on a big wheel, and it spins you around until the blood leaves your head and you die. It's like a fatal tilt-a-whirl. Actually, that does exist in some form as a torture device.
God, yeah. So Edward II of England is the one that George was thinking of. The English king was rumored to have been murdered after being deposed and imprisoned by his wife Isabella and her lover Roger Mortimer by having a horn pushed into his anus through which a red-hot iron was inserted.
Yep, that's
there's no
that's that one.
There's no real academic consensus on the matter of Edward's death.
Hey, at least it was a horn. It was flared at the base.
Yeah.
It still doesn't go up there, though.
King John of Bohemia was blind, and he was at a battle, the Battle of Crecy, and he commanded his companions to tie their horses' reins to his own and charge, and he died in the fight. Dudes that went to battle despite being blind were really cool, but he took it too far.
Who is that guy that brought a broadsword and a crossbow to World War II?
Oh shit, Jack Churchill. Yeah. That motherfucker.
The good Churchill.
Yeah, no, he was great.
Churchill that actually did something in war.
Also, he was a surfer.
Mad Jack, yeah.
I love that he was a fucking, Highlander, kilt-wearing Scotsman, but also surfed. That's great.
Bro had his own theme music when he rolled up in Normandy.
God, the shit that person was involved in. He did a lot of movie work later after the war as well. Lots of stunts. Also, he got involved in other wars later because he liked fighting.
Longbow, not crossbow. My bad.
Yeah, the longbow.
Yes, longbow on Nazi SS.
Yes, he is the only person with confirmed longbow kills on SS officers.
Aguma, do you know the ins and outs of Operation Mincemeat?
Yeah.
Operation Mincemeat? No, I'm not familiar
Please
with
talk
that.
about Operation Mincemeat, please.
It was a... Was it... Okay, George, was it just British, or was it British and American? Like an allies?
I think it was just the Brits.
Okay, it was a
I'm
British
not.
operation.
Don't quote me, but I think so.
Written up in part by the guy who would later go on to write James Bond, which, of course, and it was, they took a homeless man who they believe took his own life with rat poison. They then use...
Right.
Oh yeah, of course, Peg. Yeah, Peg. You know civil history. They then faked everything about him to make him seem like an ally soldier who had crashed off the coast of Spain. I think it was either Spain or Portugal, with sensitive documents that said that the Allies were moving troops into Greece. And of course, because Spain at the time was not trying to, do much in the war, but of course, had a bit of a fascist history, was likely going to pass on the sensitive information to anyone, in the Axis forces who would have wanted it. Namely, these documents would have made it to an SS officer. But everything about them were fake. And it worked. They weakened at Bernie's almost all of his documents except for his photo ID, which they used someone else in the actual in the office, not the office, but like in the organization, because he just so happened to look really, really, really similar to a more cleaned up version of this dead guy that they just had. And like they made a whole story. They had like lipstick kissed letters from, or like a photo from a fake wife, and I think they specifically made him Catholic so that they wouldn't hold an autopsy until it was too late to realize, oh, this guy didn't die in the plane crash, he died of rat poison. So by the time that the papers would have been handed off, they already would have, then they would have done the autopsy, be like, oh, wait, none of this is adding up. And then one of the things they did for the envelope was they put a single eyelash in the glue seam of the envelope so that it was there unless you opened it. So even if they had resealed it and copied all the stuff on it or took the papers out themselves and just handed back the envelope, you would know.
Right.
And they took the bait. And yeah, it caused a massive movement of Nazi forces in the general direction of Greece, away from the lines where the Allies actually were. It was a massive misdirection.
Yeah.
And I'm just, how?
George Pank is begging for something. I think a response should be given, even if it is a negative one.
Ah, right.
It's about
okay, let me have a look.
It's about Mad Jack.
Ah, right. It's look at this video. Hold on. I've got to do something else first. There's something else I just remembered I have to do. And it's called, we need to go and see what our lovely friend, Votbrout, the motorcycle, magic motorcycle bastard lunatic, is up to.
Oh no.
Oh.
Alright, there they are. Anyone watching the stream right now can see them. They're currently... Oh no, Mental's in the way. Mental, get out of the way.
What, fetch me what? What am I fetching?
They're fetching a bucket!
To kill a king with.
They're fetching a bucket. Now they're executing some ankegs to do this. And Then some sick Jubilexes, they're murdering them. Oh no, they fetched the bucket, they're now delivering a newspaper.
There's the paper boy.
Oh, they're still level 59, they have not leveled up in quite some time.
So, is Voltbrout a motorcycle?
They are a motorcycle.
Okay, I was imagining him as a guy fused to a motorcycle.
No, they are actually just an enchanted motorcycle.
You mean like in
And the
Fairly
bastard
Odd Parents,
lunatic.
the guy that was like half motorcycle, half guy, and he like turned into a demon motorcycle guy?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me find the picture.
Motorcycle tour. Not a turbo teen. Some sort of turbo teen situation.
Yeah, no, they are an enchanted motorcycle.
Superbike, that's what his name was.
Their class is Bastard Lunatic. And they're off doing adventures, like delivering a newspaper. What have they done lately? Seek the cruciate scabbard, fetch me a chicken, placate the blue dragons, deliver another newspaper,
There you go.
exterminate the Orcai, placate the hill giants, placate the cockatrices, seek the cruciate albatross, exterminate the Orsi again, I guess he didn't do it well enough, deliver this nosegay,
Love a good nosegay.
and then placate the cockatrices again, placate the beholders, placate the titans, exterminate the red dragons. Oh, they have now delivered the newspaper. They are now delivering a sock. Currently doing that by executing some gold dragons and some minotaurs. Yeah, this is how they go about things, I guess. This is just how they do things. Undernourished ochre jellies are now being killed. You know,
I'm
instead of
afraid, mental
helping them-
marsupial, that your link did not function.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
well.
sorry.
Oh, sorry, it was a dragon, not a demon. Oh, he was a were-dragon.
All right, I think we're gonna leave him to deliver this sock now.
Yeah. It's apparently quite a long journey. It's taken a lot longer than the newspaper.
Yeah. There's a lot of places to do that. Like,
Okay, hold on. The dragon version of the dragon version of Superbike is definitely a fetish thing.
Yeah.
It's so fetish coded.
Butch, please. Why do you keep doing this? Why do we keep going back to this?
Wow.
Bro's built like a DeviantArt character.
Yeah.
nah. But anyway, Pank, I'm gonna maybe Alright. I'm not gonna put up a video about Jack Churchill right now, but let me tell you, have I got a video about Jack Churchill for later viewing. Oh boy. I have an episode of one of Tom Scott's game shows that ends up being, basically the whole episode ends up being about Jack Churchill. And it's so good. Oh, I need to go and pray at that shrine. It makes all my adventurers stronger. I need to remember to do that.
Also, I am going to have to hop out
Yeah.
for a bit. Aguma, I might be able to join you for some hell diving later, but it just depends on how my evening goes.
Alright.
But George, this was a lot of fun. I feel quite educated. Not so much in the whole city planning thing, but how monarchs lose their lives.
Yeah, we have learned a lot about king death.
Yeah.
And this is
King death.
good thing to know.
Alright. See ya.
See ya. Anyway, during one of the moments, I was taking a look at how cheaply I can get hold of Helldivers 2.
Oh yeah.
I've got a bit of a discount on Humble Store.
Alright.
Because I'm a Humble Choice subscriber.
Ah, right.
But very specifically, my discount is reduced on that game. It's still good, but not as good. Anyway, Effie killed someone. The boss of Rinfor Nightwood is dead. Effie has defeated Marlborough. Oh, alright, a Marlborough has been killed. Now, I know what that actually means, because this is Final Fantasy, but I'm just imagining smoking has been destroyed. Just as a concept, it's gone.
A little based. Inhaling smoke is a bad idea.
Yeah, don't do it. It's not a good idea. Go get some fire magicite for our mages. What else have we got? What else can I tell them to do? Yeah, I would be streaming this, but it makes the totally legal Wii shit itself when I try. So go get sword metal. Off you go.
Sword metal.
Yeah, I need that to fund the researches into swords.
Thank you.
Hey, we've got a follower.
Ecomposer is now following.
Ecomposer.
Oh, I believe Ecomposer I've seen on my channel. I might be mistaken. Might have been when I was guesting on other channels, but...
Well, thank you for doing that. Number go up. Like number go up. Let's build a new park. This is in your name. No, it isn't. But you can think it is. Here's a little shrine. Yeah. Oh, okay. So that shrine buffs all of my spellcasters. And this one buffs all the warriors and thieves. Okay. Nice that I have that, then. And... okay. Oh yeah, I got the armor metal for the armor research. Yeah, I'm a good king. I fund the sciences.
Did I tell you about the good? Well, actually, he wasn't even a king. He was technically an emperor.
Well, same ballpark.
Yeah. The one good emperor I know of.
Okay.
It was
I think you...
Pedro II of Brazil.
Yes, you've mentioned Pedro II.
Yeah.
But go ahead, because some viewers here may not have been there.
He was he was, he inherited the role of emperor of Brazil, but he actively considered Brazil being a monarchy to be silly.
It is.
Yeah, and he thought that Brazil should be a republic. So, very good start.
Yeah.
He probably would have stepped down if he wasn't Emperor Norton, Protector of the
Norton,
United States
Protector of the United States and Mexico. Oh, God. Oh, that guy. Is it? It's. I don't know if it's good or bad that I learned about that guy from playing West of Loathing.
Oh, that's good to
Because
me.
he shows up in that
That's
game.
good. Republic of Dave. Well, that's a republic, clearly.
Yeah, you can't have it. I mean, okay, yes, you can have an emperor of a republic. Hello, Rome. But
But
it's not usual.
even aside from just not wanting to be the emperor, which he probably would have stepped down if he wasn't so universally beloved by his people. He also aggressively abolished slavery in Brazil, despite a lot of opposition from pretty much all of the political establishment at the time. And he also supported arts and sciences.
Yeah, you know, government should, looks pointedly.
Yeah. He was considered to be very intelligent and educated and all that. Now, the unfortunate thing is that he spent... so he was deposed by a military coup.
Yeah.
But the wild thing is that the people were immediately very, very angry at the military because, again, they liked Pedro II. And Pedro was in a difficult place because he did not want to be emperor. So, should he, cause what could be a very costly civil war in his country to become emperor
over
again?
a thing he didn't want in the first place and thought was silly to even exist.
Yeah.
Oh dear. A lot of dead adventurers today.
He ended up not getting the role back, and he just lived in Europe. Apparently very humbly lived in Europe. He just lived in, a hotel room. Not even, a fancy one,
Just a place.
a guy. I'm just a guy now.
I mean, I guess. I guess they are at that point, yeah. Just a person. Alright, I'll send them off to go and get some potion ingredients. And, some stuff for magic research. There's hardly any adventurers today because most of them are recovering from being dead. I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
I still have the article for mummies open.
Yes, because we were looking at mummies for reasons that I've long forgotten.
Apparently in Iran, in 400 BC, a salt mine collapsed and resulted in the salt men.
Oh,
which is what they're called.
The salt men.
The salt men.
I see.
The group of guys that were caught in the collapse and were mummified.
I mean, yeah, I guess that is how you preserve meat. Just fucking rub salt all over them.
Yeah. Buying mummies. That's crazy. Yeah. This is perhaps a little charitable to call them mummies. Oh no, that's mummified, yeah. A culture in the Philippines did mummification for actually a few hundred years. It's always strange to realize because, you know, it says like, oh, between the 14th and 19th centuries. And it's like, oh, okay, so it was in the past, and it wasn't like...
Oh shit, that reminds me. Current affairs, also related to mummification. Yeah, I think there was a kerfuffle here, like, literally in the last few days in the UK, about basically, people, some kids playing in an abandoned, like, building, looking at a mummified pig. Because it was there.
Yeah.
And everyone going all, oh no, how they shouldn't be out doing things like this, and then everyone I know in the UK going, yeah, that's because all the youth programs are gone, and all the and all the public transport's been massively increased in price, so they can't really go anywhere, and everything that children might do has been removed because it was costly. Of course they're going into a weird abandoned building to look at a pig corpse. Of course that's what they're doing. They have nothing else to do.
Did Boris fuck the pig?
No,
that was a different guy.
That was David Cameron. He fucked a dead pig.
Well, he placed his penis inside of its mouth, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
I did not fuck the pig. I did not come on the pig.
No, you merely put your dick in it. That's all they did. They merely placed their dick inside the dead pig.
I almost said demon dick.
The demon dick. Well, to be fair, he is a horrible, reprehensible person. But, you know, I'd say he's somewhat worse than if a literal demonic creature came onto this planet. Now everyone was recovering from being dead. Maybe they can actually do something today, now that they're alive. Please go and do alive things. Okay?
So, the whole reason that people ate mummies, I did not know this.
Oh, yeah.
Ultimately, it comes back to a mistranslation of Arabic, where the Arabic was referring to bitumen, but they mistranslated it to mummies, and so they thought that mummies had healing properties, so they started eating mummies in the Middle Ages.
Oh dear. Oh dear. I mean, I know,
The trade in mummies seems to have been frowned upon by Turkish authorities who ruled Egypt. Several Egyptians were imprisoned for boiling mummies to make oil in 1424.
Yeah, I can, yeah. Yeah, I can see that. They're weird. Weird. They
weird.
How strange. Explain England right now. A rotting, festering, lumbering, living corpse. Still up its own self-importance. While slowly hacking bits of itself off, saying that they don't need them anymore. There you go, I've explained England. I think
Speaking of England,
yeah.
John Snaderson, an English tradesman who visited Egypt in the 16th century, shipped 600 pounds of mummy back to England That's a lot of mummy.
That's a lot of mummy. That's a lot of it.
Especially when they're all dried out. That's like,
Yeah.
even if they were like, you know, still moist people, that'd be 600 pounds. That's like 5 people.
Yeah. That's like 2 whole me's.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not quite. I haven't reached 3 yet. Basically a bunch of jerky. I mean, yes. I guess. I guess that's correct.
Pork jerky. I've never had pork jerky. That's strange. I guess pork has a, like, if there's one notable issue with pork, it's that it tends to be dry, so I can imagine.
Yeah, so make it drier. Make it even drier.
Just pork dust.
You know, I'd have pork dust with things.
Yeah.
Yeah, just.
Actually, that might just be bacon bits.
Yes, I suppose. I mean, is like bacon salt just pork dust?
I think it's mostly salt.
Yes, but
but it's close.
if you just had dust that was pork, I probably wouldn't last very long. Like, you'd get back to it in a day, and it would just be a big jar full of botulism.
Oh my god. So we knew about the eating of the mummies, and we knew about Mummy Brown.
Yeah, I mean,
During the 19th century, following the discovery of the first tombs and artifacts in Egypt, Egyptology was a huge fad in Europe, especially in Victorian England. European aristocrats would occasionally entertain themselves by purchasing mummies, having them unwrapped, and holding observation sessions.
Just looking at them. Just looking at them.
The pioneer of this kind of entertainment in Britain was Thomas Pettigrew, known as Mummy Pettigrew due to his work. Such unrolling sessions destroyed hundreds of mummies because the exposure to the air caused them to disintegrate.
Yes! They're very old and delicate.
Now, there are some spurious rumors. Mark Twain said that mummies were used as fuel for locomotives, but he was probably joking.
I mean, he would probably joking in that way where he afterwards went, "Oh shit, I hope someone doesn't actually do it."
Yeah.
Because, like, he seems like the kind of guy who would imagine that people would do it. And just be like, oh god. I hate that I believe people would do that.
Yeah. An early innovator in science fiction. Mark Twain.
Yeah.
Specifically, he wrote Connecticut Yankee and King Arthur's Court, which was about a guy from his modern day traveling back to King Arthur times. Which is not the first time travel
No.
story, but
I mean, if you want to look at like really early sci-fi, you want to look at the works of Lord Dunsany.
Lord Dunsany. Mummy gender reveal party.
Mummy gender reveal party. No, half of London didn't burn down. It's not one of those. Is that what caused the Great Fire? A gender reveal party?
So let's see. Subscribe to Wobegon's monthly. Lake Wobegon? What is it? All the women are strong, all the men are good looking, and every child is above average. I wish to unsubscribe from Mummy Facts. Right, I wanted to talk about early science fiction.
Yes.
Because, you know, it kind of... Well, it's strange, because to have science fiction, you need to have a conception of science.
Yes.
So it's more speculative fiction.
Yeah.
Ancient and early modern texts, including a great many epic poems that contain fantastical or science fictional elements. So a lot of them are just kind of... I mean, it kind of calls into question what you mean by science fiction, because, you know, there are voyages to the moon in old fiction.
Yeah.
Does that count as science fiction?
I don't know.
Just a thing we now think of as science fiction because it was a thing done.
I think it's in the. I think the context of it in the work probably matters, because, like, if you've gone to the moon by following the spirits up in a giant sailboat into the sky, it's probably not science fiction at that point.
Yeah.
That's probably fantasy there. I mean, honestly, I guess it is a bit of a nebulous genre.
Yeah. I'm reading, apparently some people have proposed the Epic of Gilgamesh based on, let's see.
I mean,
yeah, somebody saying...
I mean, I guess Enkidu was a robot.
Hey, was he? I thought he was a wildman.
Well, I might be mixing that up with something else.
Oh no, hold on, let's see,
Their exploits are composed in... Suggestions that he may be the bullman shown in Mesopotamian art.
the first half of the story discusses Gilgamesh and Enkidu, a wild man created by the gods to stop Gilgamesh from oppressing the people of Uruk. So he was created by the gods.
Well, depends what they thought people were like. If, like, are people also created directly by the gods? If they are, then Enkidu's just a person. If not, then there's some sort of weird god creation. Okay, he wasn't counted as human until later he became human.
Okay. Or was Gollum coded?
Yeah,
hey,
no,
Mental,
you're not even wrong. You know?
Yeah. Mental, do you know about the way that... So Enkidu started out as a wild man, and it basically, the people of Gilgamesh's city were like, you need to stop this wild man, he's scaring the hoes. And Gilgamesh accomplished this by sending out a woman to have sex with Enkidu for a week. And eventually, after a week of just continuous sex, Enkidu smelled like people, and all of his animal friends were like, we don't want to hang out with you anymore, you smell weird, because you've been fucking for a week.
Well, yeah, he smells like fucking.
So he had to just go to civilization.
No.
Being non-binary and half Ashkenaz, I am surprisingly very Gollum-coded. What did I tell you about explaining Gilgamesh lore when the hoes are around? So, ancient Indian poetry, like the Ramayana, has Vimana, which were like giant flying palaces.
Yeah.
It describes them here: flying machines able to travel into space or underwater and destroy entire cities using advanced weapons.
Okay.
In the first book of the Rig Veda collection of Sanskrit hymns, there is a description of mechanical birds that are seen jumping into space speedily with a craft using fire and water, containing 12 pillars, 1 wheel, 3 machines, 300 pivots, and 60 instruments. Yeah, old Hindu epics were fucking crazy. There's one instance where I think an avatar of Vishnu used a weapon in a battle to end a battle that was oddly similar in description to a nuke. Because ancient Indian writers just, like, I don't know, they just went really hard. They really cared about, like, coming up with things. Like, I mean, they cared about, obviously, characterization and stuff. But they were really fascinated by, for example, large numbers. Like, they were the first people to be like, yes, we have 100 and 1,000, but what about 10,000 and 100,000 and 1,000,000 and 1,000,000,000 and 1,000,000,000,000? We have, like, no context to care about these things, but we just implicitly care about, like, what if a really big number existed?
Yeah, what if?
And that feels science fiction-y to me.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, that's speculative fiction, isn't it?
Yeah.
What if? What if big number? But yeah, I still haven't all stream encountered another plot cutscene yet. Nothing's happened. I've just been building and getting resources and building, and that's it.
The recipe for Greek fire was a closely guarded state secret. That's interesting. Was that the first? I mean, there had to be earlier state secrets.
I mean, they certainly didn't want anybody getting their hands on it that wasn't themselves. Because, oh boy! I don't want anybody else just setting everybody on fire.
Oh, hey. The ancient Hindu mythological epic, the Mahabharata, includes the story of King Kakudmi, who travels to heaven to meet the creator Brahma and is shocked to learn that many ages have passed when he returns to Earth. Yeah, that actually is a somewhat common one. Of, like, I go to some other realm and much time has passed when I return.
Yeah, that's
one that comes up in a lot of older
that does come
examples.
up a lot, yeah.
It was the high amount of salt in the local earth that made it special. Huh?
Oh, that's, yeah, Roman concrete. Yes.
One frequently cited text is the Syrian-Greek writer Lucian of Samosata's 2nd century satire. That's a lot of S's.
Yeah.
2nd century satire. True History. Which, I love that title.
Yeah, because it absolutely
True
isn't.
History. So this was the second, 2nd century, to be clear. He lived from 125 to 180 AD. This is like relatively late Roman.
Yeah.
The novel is a satire of outlandish tales that had been reported in ancient sources, particularly those that presented fantastic or mythical events as if they were true. I would say that's a good candidate because it's like, not even because of the things it describes, but because of the attitude of it. Of like, sarcastically imitating outlandish stories. So, it uses a voyage to outer space and conversations with alien life forms to comment on the use of exaggeration within travel literature and debates. So it's got traveling to outer space, it's got alien life forms, interplanetary warfare, planetary imperialism.
Yeah, yeah, that's a solid contender.
Worlds working by a set of alternative physical laws. Now, it is very funny that in English, so some people said that its status as satire means it can't be science fiction. Yeah, exactly. Because an English critic, again, the English, said that it can't be science fiction and it is more like a space opera.
But that is such... what the fuck? Did they listen to the words that came out of their own mouth? That's... revoke that person's ability to criticize anything. Give me their license. Good grief.
Oh, this is, the critic was talking about the ancient satire True History. Coin-operated vending machines were invented in like the 1st century. Jesus theoretically could have gone to a town venue for a sermon and bought holy water from a vending machine. Yeah, but he wouldn't have, because he was based.
Yeah. He would have just made it himself.
He would have just blessed the rains down in Attica. I want to pat myself on the back for that, because that's actually where the coin-operated machines were. They were in Attica.
You know, you're perfectly fine patting yourself on the back for that one. I'll give you that. Just having that information on hand immediately, the moment it turns up. And the moment anybody starts talking about 1st century vending machines, and you're just like, yeah, it's here, and then immediately makes a joke. That also is a reference to Africa by Toto at the same time. Jeez, good grief. Yeah, no, you get a gold star. I'm giving you a gold star. I'm putting it on your report card.
Hey, can I get a banana sticker?
Yeah, sure. You can have a banana sticker. Absolutely. I'm a generous monarch.
Africa is about suffering from lycanthropy.
Look, Mental, it's about someone trying to make a song about Africa that doesn't know a damn thing about Africa and has never been there. That's what it's about.
Somehow I feel like the complete lack of knowledge about Africa made it like a little bit based.
I mean, no,
because
that's
I feel
point.
like if they
That's the
I feel
whole
like
point.
if they knew slightly more about Africa, it would have been like misinformed about Africa.
Mm. Oh well, everyone I sent
what's
on that
not-
expedition is dead. Okay.
Yeah, well,
Okay, yeah, whatever. Who cares?
yeah. So then you get into some Japanese tales. Japanese tale of Urashima Taro involves traveling forwards in time to a distant future. So this is around the 700s. It was about a young fisherman named Urashima Taro who visits an undersea palace and stays there for 3 days. After returning home to his village, he finds himself 300 years in the future, where he is long forgotten, his house is in ruins, and his family long dead. Fucked up.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up.
But again, that's the, I've gone to a fantastical place and I come back and time has passed.
Mm.
The Tale of the Bamboo Cutter from the 10th century. The protagonist of the story, Kaguya Hime, is a princess from the moon who is sent to Earth for safety during a celestial war and is found and raised by a bamboo cutter in Japan. She is later taken back to the moon by her real extraterrestrial family.
Ah. So it's
a
ET.
manuscript. Yeah, a manuscript illustration depicts a round flying machine similar to a flying saucer. I'd say that's a good candidate.
Yeah.
It's got some elements in there. Though it definitely feels a bit like fantasy too, because other illustrations. So some of them, like, okay, you have like, it actually kind of really epitomizes the dividing line, because some illustrations will depict the heavenly beings just coming down on a cloud and then lifting her up on a cloud, and then other ones will be like, no, I need to come up with what these heavenly beings would use. A round flying machine.
Yeah. They just come in the big orb.
The orb. Uh, 1001 Nights. That's an interesting
Yes.
one.
There's definitely some stuff that goes on there that could fit.
There's a bunch of things that kind of are ambiguous, whether it's fantastical or science fiction, but there's ones, Oh, that's interesting. In Abdullah the Fisherman and Abdullah the Merman, the protagonist gains the ability to breathe underwater and discovers an underwater submarine society that is portrayed as an inverted reflection of society on land. In that the underwater society follows a form of primitive communism where concepts like money and clothing do not exist.
Okay.
Finally. And mer people.
Concepts like money and clothing.
Yeah, clothing.
Oh. Alright.
I like it just kind of passively implied that nudism was a central part of like primitive communism. Other Arabian Nights tales deal with lost ancient technologies, advanced ancient civilizations that went astray, and catastrophes which overwhelmed them. The city of Brass features a group of travelers on an archaeological expedition across the Sahara to find an ancient lost city and attempt to recover a brass vessel that the biblical King Solomon once used to trap a jinn. And along the way, encounter a mummified queen, petrified inhabitants, lifelike humanoid robots and automata, seductive marionettes dancing without strings, and a brass robot horseman who directs the party towards the ancient city. Yeah, that one is... That's a... So we're really getting into it now.
Yeah.
The Ebony Horse features a robot in the form of a flying mechanical horse controlled using keys that could fly into outer space and towards the sun.
Cool.
Yeah. There's apparently a robot sailor in another one. Why are there so many robots in 1001 Nights?
Love robots.
Definitely sci-fi because no clothing. Oh, by the way, that would be another early one I would say is like, not science fiction, but speculative fiction would be the one where, I forget, who was it? The ancient Greek philosopher that was like, what if a guy had a ring that turned him invisible? How would that affect his ethics? That's a very direct sort of like...
So, that's straight up the Invisible Man.
Yeah.
That's that. I'm sorry, I just looked at the monsters in this dungeon, because it does tell you there's actually a lot of information in this game that you just don't need, and it's just flavor. But in this dungeon, there is the silver-shelled beast, the ever-living drake, and the clockwork executioner, speaking of robots.
The clockwork executioner is so fucking scary.
Ooh, a plot thing. Like, finally! It's taken 3.5 hours. We've got one. Just as I suspected, above the cliff is a hidden path used by monsters. How does it look? It's a trampled trail across an overgrown field. I can't see what's past that, but it does appear to lead to the hill where the temple is. Yeah, so earlier in the plot we found out that the previous king, my dad, is like imprisoned in a weird shrine nearby. I don't know why I'm going to rescue him, because then I wouldn't be king.
Cock executioner.
Cock executioner? Oh no!
I'm afraid I may need to go for
No,
now,
I mean,
though,
I'm
because...
probably going to stop shortly anyway.
Oh, okay. I could continue until... Just because I'm getting a bit of a headache for some reason.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we've had a lot of exposure to monarchy.
True.
And not
Like
just my
radiation.
brand of completely incompetent monarchy.
As opposed to all that competent monarchy.
Well, alright, competent... Yeah, but they're at least competent at being monarchs, i.e. shitbags.
This is fair.
I'm very bad at being a shitbag. Yeah, I'm gonna go for this last day. Now that we've had an actual bit of anything happen. I'll go to the end of the day and raid out afterwards. Yeah, so we found a lot of incredibly early science fiction. Which definitely, like, the further on you've gone, the more unambiguous this is science fiction it has been.
And you could really even trace why it became more unambiguous. It's because I imagine at the height of the Islamic Golden Age, there was a lot of tinkering going on with brass.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't much of a leap to be like, what if we tinkered much more?
Yeah, what if we tinkered even more? We've made, like, levers and things. What if they moved themselves? I mean, yeah, that's a leap that could be made.
Do just produce a steam engine to turn down.
I mean, technically, there was like something that is like a really primitive steam engine back in the ancient Greek times.
Yes, it was early experiments. Yes, it was called the oh god, how do you pronounce this? Aeolipile.
Yeah, there goes me immediately leaping in with early steam engine information. Because...
Yes, his name was Hero of Alexandria. The force pump? Oh, yeah, the force pump. A syringe-like device was described by Hero. Yeah, Heron did. I mean, the thing is that, Heron, we just have his stuff still. Like, we know of his stuff. But he was working on other people's, he was iterating.
Yeah.
On things. And so we might never know just how far people went, because only a fraction of what was done back then survived. But yeah, he made like a steam machine.
Steam machine.
And that's funny. Well, that wasn't exactly the Islamic Golden Age. It was a bit later. But in Ottoman Egypt, that's funny because Heron was also in Egypt. Made a somewhat more advanced steam turbine.
Back in the old days, your stuff would get wrecked if it went against the current zeitgeist and then erased from history. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, like, even if it didn't get wrecked while you were alive, it had to survive hundreds or thousands of years. And if things got spicy at any point, you could end up with, like... Though, truthfully, the Library of Alexandria being burned, I don't think that was historical. It was more just I mean, this is another lesson, but... it just fell out of focus over time. Like, it stopped getting funding. And
stopped funding the libraries, eh?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it failed to be able to preserve things, and eventually I think there was a fire. But it was kind of like at that point it had already, there was a fire
Yeah.
because of its lack of maintenance, and it all kind of comes together.
Well, that's... How depressing. It's good old-fashioned people not funding public services.
Ravages of time, entropy,
Yeah.
On a brighter note, according to William of Malmesbury in 1125, Reims was home to a church that had an organ powered by air escaping from compression by heated water, apparently designed and constructed by Professor Gerbertus.
Professor Gerbertus!
Professor Gerbertus. So in 1125, you could just be some guy named Gerbertus and just make a weird device. And the local church would be like, oh, that's neat. All right.
Yeah. All right. Now that I've fully funded everything that I can fund, and actual plot happened, even though it was just, hey, we found a road, I'm gonna stop for tonight. You can have a nice not having a headache time.
Yeah. And if I do get the headache under control, I might stream a bit later.
Yeah, and I'll probably turn up.
Yeah.
Pank, I did save. I just did. I just did, Pank. I just did. I'm literally finishing the stream, CA. God damn it.
I'm sorry, you are bound by this.
Yeah, I am. Oh god, I think it's just on bicycles. Oh fuck. Hank, I still haven't done the Black Wedge stream yet. No, not Pamf! No, I think it is just eaten over onto the one I'd rather not do of those two, so I guess I'll do that. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, my leg muscles are gonna hurt from that one. Okay. I'm gonna go back to the end screen now. And open up Twitch so I can see where I can go. Oh, well, there we go. I found someone. Because, of course, I'm going to go there. Aid Goblin Hugger.
Hey, Howlin' Gugger.
We're going to go to a place where a person hugs goblins. And other things, but goblins in particular. For sure.
I recently saw art someone had made of a gooblin, which is to say a goblin that is also a slime.
Ooh.
A gooblin.
Gooblin.
At the end.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll take that as a raid message.
It's dark.
Yeah. Yeah, so you might be doing something later.
Yes. And this weekend, hopefully, I'll be doing a architecture appraisal.
And I believe I should be available for that. So I should be there, hopefully. Unless something dreadful happens. Okay.
We suffer at the end, folks.
Yeah, we go. We suffer at this end. Bye.